children should be educated and instructed in the principles of freedom. Do you have an appointment? I'm a very busy man. Oh, it's you. Well, yes, come in. Come on in and sit down. You want to get to know me, don't you? I'm John Adams, the second President of the United States of America from 1797 to 1801. I played an important role in the American Revolution. I'm known as one of the founding fathers of America because my ideas helped shape the new nation. I wasn't the most popular president. People thought I was cranky a lot of the time, arrogant, short-tempered, and thought a lot of myself. But I had many good qualities too. My friends, the people I worked with, and even my enemies always respected my honesty, my intelligence, my generosity, and my courage. Nothing could stop me from fighting for freedom and American independence. Huzzah! Hooray! Let me tell you about my childhood. It wasn't easy like yours. I was born in 1735 in Braintree, Massachusetts. Today, the city of Braintree is known as Quincy. I grew up on my parents' farm, where my father, my grandfather, and my grandfather's father had all been farmers. My parents always believed in the importance of education.
A little book learning goes a long way.
They taught me to read when I was very young.
Today I'm going to read you some poetry by Shakespeare.
I was hoping for some Bible stories.
Me too.
But soft. What light through yonder window breaks? It is the east, and Juliet is the sun.
This is utterly inspirational.
At first I loved going to school. But when I was about 9 years old, I started going to a new, larger school. Things didn't go so well for me there. I couldn't stand it. My teacher, Mr. Cleverly, was the dullest and laziest man I ever knew. He taught only Latin, and he didn't do a very good job of it.
Okay. Read every chapter in your Latin books and wake me when you're done. We'll have a test. Someday.
Mr. Cleverly ruined my desire to go to school. In fact, I was so upset and bored that I started skipping school altogether. Now I spent my days making and sailing toy boats, playing marbles, flying kites, and hunting. When my father found out what was going on, he was quite upset. To change my mind, he took me out early the next morning.
You need good grades so you can go to college.
I don't want to go to college. I want to be a farmer, like you.
A farmer, huh? All right. Take all of the hay in the field and stack it in the barn.
Sure, Pop. Sounds like fun.
Well, John, have you learned your lesson?
Yep. Now I'm sure I want to be a farmer.
Oh.
Finally, my father convinced me how important a good education was. He agreed to send me to a new school, and I liked this new school and teacher a lot. I began to enjoy studying and reading again. In fact, I did so well in school that I got into Harvard College at the age of 16. Harvard was near the city of Boston, Massachusetts. When I graduated from Harvard, I decided to become a lawyer. When I began my career, Massachusetts was still one of Great Britain's 13 North American colonies. Great Britain was the most powerful kingdom in the world, headed by George III, King of England.
I'm King George III, King of England, the most powerful country in the world.
For many years, we colonists had gotten along pretty well with the British government, but suddenly, things started to go very wrong.
I need more money, but wherever shall I get it? I know. I'll force the colonists to pay extra taxes on supplies shipped to them from England and keep all the money for myself. It's good to be the king, it's good to be the king, it's good to be the king.
It was bad enough paying taxes on things we needed, but King George was making us pay lots of extra taxes without giving us any say in the matter. One tax law the colonists really hated was the Stamp Act. Reading a newspaper? Tax, please. Marriage license? Tax, please. Playing cards? Tax, please. These things all had to be stamped to show that the tax had been paid. This act taxed almost every piece of paper in the colonies.
Why is this stuff so expensive?
Don't ask me. Ask King George about it.
Oh, Georgie dear, what a lovely present! Wherever did you find the money to afford it?
Don't ask.
I didn't need any new taxes. I was married and having a hard enough time supporting my wife Abigail and our new family. I began to write articles in the newspaper about how unfair the English government was being. Liberty, once lost, is lost forever. Other colonists, however, preferred to protest more violently.
Hey, Adams! You want to protest violently with us tonight?
No thanks. I prefer to protest by writing articles to the newspaper. Besides, I can't find my torch. During one violent protest on March 5th, 1770, an angry mob attacked a group of British soldiers in Boston. The soldiers fired their guns into the crowd, and some colonists were killed. The event became known as the Boston Massacre. It made many people feel that the colonies would be better off on their own. The soldiers who fired into the crowd were arrested and in big trouble. No one in the colonies wanted to defend them in court. No one, that is, except me. Some people called me a traitor for defending the British soldiers. I angered many of my friends, including Paul Revere and Samuel Adams, my cousin. But many others thought I was doing something very important. I felt that no matter how bad a crime seemed, those who were accused always deserved a fair trial. Because of that, I was becoming well known throughout the colonies and was always being asked to run a committee or take on some government job. But as time went on, I could see that things were getting worse and worse between the colonies and England. One night, angry colonists disguised as American Indians threw tons of English tea off boats into Boston Harbor. They were tired of paying taxes on the tea. People called it the Boston Tea Party. To teach us colonists a lesson, King George closed the harbor and sent thousands of soldiers to guard the area. He also demanded that colonists feed the soldiers and give them a place to sleep.
Mind if I climb in? I was having a bad dream.
All right. Then this is the last time.
Again?
Finally, the colonists decided that they had had enough. Before long, battles between British soldiers and colonists broke out in the towns of Lexington and Concord, Massachusetts. The leaders of the colonies decided to break away from England and start a new nation. We made it official with a Declaration of Independence. I was on the committee to help put the Declaration together. I also nominated George Washington to head America's new army. It was 1775, and the Revolutionary War had begun. General Washington and our brave soldiers fought the British troops here in the colonies. The leaders of the colonies asked me to travel to Europe. I had an important job too. I was asked to talk to foreign governments, get them to recognize America as a new country, and maybe to help us with money or troops. I spent a lot of time talking to the French government. The French didn't like England very much during this time, and they wanted the colonists to win the war.
I am Louis XVI, King of France, and we do not like the English.
Finally, I helped persuade the King of France to help us fight the English.
To the colonies, en garde! Ha-ha!
In October 1781, with the help of French soldiers and warships, Washington's army trapped the British Army at Yorktown, Virginia, and made them give up. The fighting was over, and the United States of America was officially a new country. I helped work out the peace agreement, known as the Treaty of Paris, that marked the end of the war. I spent almost 10 years in Europe, finding ways to aid my new American country. I'd been away from my wife, Abigail, and my children for a long, long time. I couldn't wait to get home. Abigail was a brave, smart woman who believed in American independence as much as I did. In the hundreds of letters we wrote to each other while I was away, she gave me lots of valuable information and advice. I felt lucky to have her as my wife. Soon after I returned home from Europe to my brand new country, George Washington was elected the nation's first president. I was elected vice president. 8 years later, Washington's second term ended, and he decided not to run for president again. So I decided to run for president. In 1796, I was elected the second president of the United States of America, and was the first president to live in the new White House. When I took over as president, there were all kinds of problems to solve. The most serious one was that France, which had once been a friend of the United States, started attacking American ships. They stole ships' cargo and arrested American sailors. Some American warships began fighting back. Many people wanted to go to war with France, but I thought that would be a big mistake. America's Navy was small and brand new, and I knew we weren't ready for a big war with a powerful nation like France. I thought we could solve our problems by talking to the French government, but many Americans didn't agree. It wasn't long before people started to criticize the way I was handling this new problem with the French. To try to stop people from complaining so much, my supporters and I did something that turned out to be a bad idea. We came up with and passed some new laws. One law, called the Sedition Act, said that anyone who criticized the American government could be thrown in jail.
This act's unfair! Sedition Act! Okay, Adam. No more Sedition Act!
To most Americans, the Sedition Act seemed like something a king, not the President of the United States, might do. I wasn't a very popular president. I often did things only the way I wanted and didn't listen to my friends' suggestions. Because of my stubbornness, I wasn't popular enough to be voted in for a second term as president. After my term as president ended, I went home to Massachusetts and retired to my farm in Quincy. In 1825, something happened that made me very proud. My son, John Quincy Adams, was elected to be the 6th President of the United States. He is someone you should get to know. I died at home in Quincy at the age of 91 on July 4th, exactly 50 years after the approval of the Declaration of Independence. I'm probably best remembered for my courage and for my ideas that helped make the 13 colonies into the